When alt season? It's the big question. It's the time in the market, in the crypto market, where people make most money, as most people love being in altcoins, and an alt season is incredible. You will see your portfolio going up 2x overnight, but the next night another 2x, then maybe another 40%, little dip, but then another 3x, and before you know, you have so much more money than you ever thought of. For the people that didn't went into a full cycle and haven't witnessed an alt season yet, believe me, it is incredible. But are we close to an alt season? According to some people, we already have an alt season. Let me share you my thoughts on it. So like the video if you like the video, subscribe to the channel, turn the bell notification on so you won't miss out on anything. I'm here every day, and check out the Patreon. There is a link down below where you get a lot of exclusive content where we track influencers' wallets to see what they are buying before they tweet about it, exclusive videos, etc. So an alt season. Why do I make this video? Well, because lately I watched a video from Crypto Banter. Nothing against them. I don't want to talk negative, but I heard Ren say we are now in an alt season, or an alt season. Yeah, there is an alt season. And I want to make sure that everybody knows what an alt season actually is, because if you think that, hey, altcoins are going a little bit up right now, so we are in an alt season and I might, sell all my coins with a 20% pump, yeah, then you maybe miss out on the real alt season. And there is one chart in TradingView that shows you exactly if it's alt season or not. But the first thing I would like to show you is this definition. Alt season is a brief period where money flows out of Bitcoin into altcoins, and this will result in a significant and rapid price increase for the majority of cryptocurrencies. And an alt season is a drop by the Bitcoin dominance, right? If money flows from Bitcoin into altcoins, the Bitcoin dominance has to go down. If Bitcoin is dominating more, it means that altcoins are going, the money from altcoins is going into Bitcoin. So that leaves us with the question first, is it an alt season right now? Let's take a look at the Bitcoin dominance. This is going up pretty hard. So it is the opposite of an alt season at the moment. It is a Bitcoin season. Now this video is a day pre-recorded, by the way, so it might look a little different when you watch, but I doubt that if you watch the video, we will be here, right? So an alt season, again, is where the Bitcoin dominance goes down. Altcoins outperform Bitcoin. That's basically what it is. So the term alt season is, in my opinion, a little overused, to be honest, because everybody that looks at these kind of things right here would call it an alt season maybe, or this, or this, or this, or this, or even this. In that case, we have a lot of alt seasons, but these are mini alt seasons, right? If we want to take a look at when did we really had a good alt season, there are three so far. The first one was here in 2017, where we dropped very hard. That was in the time of the Ethereum come up and all the ERC20 tokens, and when the ICOs began, that was where the Bitcoin dominance dropped from levels that it never get back to. Why? Because here Bitcoin was dominating the crypto space for around 96%, which means that basically the only thing in the market was Bitcoin. Yeah, that's not happening anymore. There are too many altcoins and too many good altcoins at the moment. So that's what we won't see again. Then we had an alt season end of 2017, beginning 2018, where the Bitcoin dominance dropped from 70% all the way to 35%. So it went in half, and that's a lot. Sorry for the lag, had some coffee to take. And then, as you maybe can see, we had a very big alt season as well, end of 2022 until May 2021. This was a huge alt season as well. Like I said, you can say that this was an alt season, you can say that this was an alt season, but it depends on how big you think the term alt season is. If I talk about an alt season, I'm talking about a big alt season. There are very bullish ways to look at it for people that want to expect an alt season, and very negative ways. The negative thing is that the Bitcoin dominance has been going up for more than a year now. It's been making higher lows and higher highs. So Altseason is completely off the table at this moment. Altcoins are getting completely crushed against Bitcoin now. There are, of course, outperformers. There are always altcoins that perform better than average, but these altcoins are included in this chart right here. So the collective altcoin market is still doing very bad against Bitcoin. So the people that were expecting an alt season, for example, here, and let's say converted their Bitcoin into altcoins, they got wrecked. They got pretty wrecked already from this point, especially from this point, basically everywhere so far. They got wrecked. However, the positive thing is, though, that the higher we climb, the harder we can fall, right? The higher the chart goes, the harder it can go down. Now, we were ranging between like 50 and 40% for 2 years, since April 2021. And really in June 2023, we broke out. So, I remember last year, June, where some altcoins did really well. Look at last year, June. What did Bitcoin do last year in June 2022? Let's go back there. This is quite interesting if you compare it to what certain altcoins did. Because Bitcoin in June, it went from, well, the wick low was 17, 18K, and it went to $25,000. Right, so that was nice. From wick to wick, Bitcoin had a 40% move. But I remember, if we look, for example, at what Gala did back then, this was June. Gala, this wasn't June, sorry, that's totally my bad. So if we look what Gala did in June 2022, that was here, right? So Gala went from 4.5 cents to 7 cents, right? So Gala pumped 64%. So quite a lot more than what Bitcoin did. Now, that's just one example. A lot of altcoins, they outperformed Bitcoin in June. I don't think that Fomo Factory is a good example. Oh yeah, 100% pump, right? And especially on their Bitcoin pairs, yeah, that's quite crazy. If you look, for example, like we were just looking at Gala in June, what did it do against Bitcoin? Against Bitcoin, well, if you don't take this wick, but against Bitcoin, it had a 62% pump as well. So you made a lot more than if you were just in Bitcoin. If you look at Fomo Factory again on the Bitcoin pair from wick to wick, it had 123% pump back then. There are a lot of altcoins in that period that did exceptionally well. Matic, for example, it had a move of in total 274%. So many altcoins did fantastic. Now that's an alt season where altcoins outperform Bitcoin. But the cool thing is that was with a move from 48% to 39%, give or take. We're now at 53, right? So if you weren't like, therefore you want to not just buy altcoins to think like, okay, I'm preparing for an alt season. If you really want to prepare for an alt season, therefore I said, you first have to understand what it is. Altcoins will outperform Bitcoin. So if you were preparing for the alt season that might be coming for us, whether it's like end of the year, next year, end of next year, but there will be one. And if you will are being prepared for that, then you can really make the most out of it. Because here, for example, you could have bought Bitcoin extremely cheap, right? And now you will see that Bitcoin is being worth and worth and worth more against your altcoins. So, for example, here you could have bought a certain amount of Cardano with 1 Bitcoin. Now you can buy like 6 times as much Cardano or any other altcoin for that same Bitcoin, basically. And then what you notice when this chart is finally going down again, whenever it might occur, you will make a lot more money if you then first convert your Bitcoin into these altcoins. So an alt season, it's definitely not what we are seeing right now. It's completely off the table. It's a full Bitcoin season. We haven't seen such a Bitcoin season basically since 2019. right? Where Bitcoin dominance went from 52% all the way to 73%, right? This was a move of 40%. The move that we have seen right now is a move of 40%, right? So this is something that we haven't seen in 4 years. Now, what happened last time when we had that? When we had that, the Bitcoin dominance, this is the weekly chart, right? So every candle is 1 week. So it doesn't look like very long, but once we approach it right here in August 2019, we came down, of course, a little bit here in June 2020, but the real move down really started in January 2021, right? So it took more than a year after we got such a breakout before we finally went into alt season. So it could definitely be that we won't see an alt season until maybe the end of 2024. Now, I can kind of expect that. Why is that? That's what I've showed before on the channel as well. If you haven't seen it, this is quite interesting. So if we take a look at the Bitcoin chart right here, right? By the way, beautiful parallel channel, how we went to the top of this channel in this bull market, to the lower side, the top in this bull market, lower side. If we top out end of 2025, that's 300-400k, but that's something else. But what you see is that if you take a look at the last bull market for Bitcoin, right? If you overlay some altcoins, so let's overlay BNB, for example, what do you notice? BNB was sitting at zero. Well, not zero, but BNB was like nowhere, right? Bitcoin went all the way from $3,000 to $40,000, and only then BNB really started to move. Did you miss out on some BNB gains right here? Yes, of course. But BNB is, of course, a lot more risk than Bitcoin. While with Bitcoin, you could have made a big fat 10x by then, and only then the alt season really started, right? So what I expect right now, and I can show you this example with a lot of altcoins, it's not just BNB. We can take more altcoins like DOT, for example, moves in the same way, right? Bitcoin already mooned quite hard, and only from that point where Bitcoin was sitting at 30k or so, DOT started to really finally go up, right? So I don't expect any different from the coming bull run, and I don't expect it to, do the exact same step by step exactly. But so far, it's moving pretty much the same. So what I expect is that we first get a Bitcoin season like we see right now, and once we really are like far into the bull market, then we can maybe think about an altcoin season. And that might not happen until a year from now. You also, if you, apart from the charts, think about what's going on right now. We have so much anticipation for the upcoming Bitcoin ETF. Everybody expects a Bitcoin ETF by now, and it's very likely that it will be coming. Even with the fake news, it pumped Bitcoin up, and it's actually just stays there longer than I expected, to be honest. Like, we had a pretty hard pump, and usually it follows by a dump, but I don't know, man. There's a lot of buying pressure right now. There's a lot of buying pressure, and I think that everybody feels like, shit, I missed out on Bitcoin. If it goes a little lower, I'm gonna just buy it. And not a lot of sellers right now, I think. But once we get the real ETF, Bitcoin moves even more, right? But how is that good for altcoins? At the end of the day, it is. Eventually, it is. But in first instance, it isn't, right? Because what do we get? A Bitcoin ETF. We don't get an altcoin ETF, right? Maybe Ethereum or anything. But like, we don't get a Shiba ETF or something like that, or a Hex ETF or bullshit like that, right? So what I think would happen is that ETF will pump Bitcoin like fucking hard. If it sustains that level, wherever it might take us, I don't know. Eventually, it is, buying the rumor and probably selling news. But once the institutional money from the ETFs actually starts coming in, which won't happen all at once at day one, then we will see a steady increase in Bitcoin, which will definitely drive it very high. But therefore, people want to be in Bitcoin, right? These institutions are going to buy Bitcoin. What we already seen is that once we got the fake ETF news, Bitcoin pumped. But you know what else pumped? The Bitcoin dominance pumped. Look, I mean, that's what we see right here. The Bitcoin dominance just goes up together with Bitcoin, right? You can overlay it and you can see that it's moving pretty much the same, right? It's pretty much the same. So once we really get an ETF, Bitcoin goes up probably, yeah, then the dominance goes up even more, right? And I think that at a certain point, Bitcoin has pumped enough for at least the retail to say like, okay, you know what? Let's take a look at the dominance again. Sitting quite high right now. Bitcoin has made me some gains. There's not much more to accomplish with Bitcoin. Altcoins are still sitting at low levels. Let's convert that Bitcoin into altcoins. And that will probably be the main driver for the Bitcoin dominance to go really, really, really down and push us into an alt season. In the meantime, we will probably go down and retest this line, something like that, and people will call for an alt season. And yeah, I've converted some Bitcoin into altcoins right here because I just think that it should go down in the shorter term, especially if you look at the Bitcoin dominance without stable, so excluding stable coins, right? If you take these away, then you see that the Bitcoin dominance is sitting at levels where it was back in 2020. There was support in this cycle. We didn't have that resistance on the way up. Now we finally do have that resistance. So I think that something like this is possible, right? And it looks like a long way down, and people probably gonna call for an alt season by then. But don't forget that even if it comes down with like 4%, which is a lot on the dominance, that's not necessarily an alt season, right? This chart will still make a lower high and a lower low in that case. If we really go down hard, then you could say like, okay, we're now entering an alt season. But therefore, because of this correction that I expect, I have bought some altcoins. Therefore, I made 2 videos on the channel. I'm buying 7 altcoins, and I've bought these 7 altcoins, something like that. And it's not because I am still like long-term bullish, well, mid-term bullish on altcoins, because I expect the dominance to go up more. But I expect these dumps on the way, right? And I just feel like, man, let me trade that dump on the way where the Bitcoin, where altcoins go up against Bitcoin. And therefore, there's a really interesting chart. Is the total 3 altcoin market. So this everything. This chart is everything except Bitcoin, Ethereum, and USDT, and this is divided by the Bitcoin market cap. So this is basically every altcoin on its Bitcoin pair. And you can see very clearly how we were in an accumulation phase right here, an uptrend, a distribution phase, and we now started to downtrend. This is like the prime example of a market cycle. But it never goes up in a straight line, although it looks like it did right here. But we had these dumps right here. Right? And also, it never goes down in a straight line as well. And I do expect that we could bounce a little bit right here and then go on our final way down. This is where I will really convert a lot of my Bitcoin into altcoins, most of it. Because this is basically the opposite of the Bitcoin dominance chart. If this goes up, that's an alt season. Right? And I don't think this is the floor. I don't see it, especially with the ETF news. The narrative also shows like, yeah, but there's good news coming for Bitcoin, and there's not much reason for people to be in altcoins too much compared to Bitcoin right now. I don't see much narratives for altcoins at the moment, and purely chart-wise, cyclical-wise, cycle-wise, like it all leads to, go into your accumulation phase, right? Then there's also this chart, by the way. This is just the total 3 minus USDT. So this is the altcoin chart, basically, the total altcoin market. And I get a lot of comments on my channel. Look at Casper. It's an alt season. It's a bull market. Like, okay, like there will always be exceptions, but overall, this is how the altcoin market looks like. It has been making lower lows and lower highs, right? This is not what an alt season looks like. This is what an alt season looks like. It's very simple. Like, don't make it harder than it is. This is the altcoin market. If you want to have an alt season, it's why altcoins go up hard, right? If you want to call all these little pumps an alt season, yeah, that's like, okay, that's not my definition of an alt season. I got a comment on the channel, by the way, like, hey, you draw the line a little wrong. It already broke out, and you can draw it like this. That's definitely true. And that was a very sharp comment. And then it broke out. Two things. It also broke out here. Let's see if it's not going to be such a fake out again. Two, I've seen a lot of charts where it broke out and then just does this. Still support, right? But still goes down. So, in my opinion, altcoins on their dollar pair at the moment, not really something to be too bullish on. Alt season, it's the complete opposite. It's 4 years ago since we have finally seen an alt season. It's been a complete Bitcoin season. It's still a Bitcoin season. If you were buying Bitcoin, you would have made way more money than if you would have bought altcoins. You know, exceptions are always there, but overall, you can compare the charts. But the longer we keep on doing this, the bigger the alt season is going to be. Very simple, right? Because again, if you look at this chart, like, yeah, at a certain point, we will go into an alt season, right? And maybe we go do something like this first, or we do something like this, top out, stay there for a while, and then finally break down, have some bounces or something like that, and go down again. That's an alt season, but still, don't want to take your hopes away, but it can still take a very, very, very long time. I don't see any reason for an alt season right now. So, you know, I might be wrong about that. Maybe tomorrow it's suddenly an alt season. I don't expect it. I don't see a good reason for it, especially with the ETF news about the extremely, bullish dominance chart right here. It doesn't make sense for me to think that there will be an alt season anytime soon. But it doesn't mean that you cannot prepare. So let's prepare. Let's get fucking rich. So like the content. If you like the content, subscribe to the channel, turn the bell notification on. Check out the Patreon link down below, and I'll catch you guys very soon. I don't know. See you guys. No, you don't. I don't see you. You see me. I don't know. Bye.